So if you've ever impulse bought something without thoroughly researching how much it costs to obtain it, actually own and use, like this video. So this is going to be an install and review of the Ultra Shifter from CAE Shifting Technology based out of Germany. So I go to the track a lot. I think that's not a secret. I've spoken in the past about wanting to get a competition license and compete. And growing up watching racing videos, you know, the cockpit views were always so cool with those like really tall shifters that are like close to the steering wheel, and it's a real mechanical like chunk. And I've been chasing that my entire life. And when I came across the CAE shifter, I had seen reviews and such done in like other cars. There's not a lot of people running this shifter in the second generation or GR86s and BRZs, right? So when I came across it, I was instantly in love. I really didn't think about like how much it was gonna cost or what it took to install. I mean, I did a little bit of research, but not enough. Anyways, I'm gonna go through the install process, I'm gonna go through the review, and then we're gonna talk about the cost of things. And what the shifter actually costs to use. And it's not just as easy as popping it in the car. If you're going to be out seriously driving it, you need to make one more addition to the car, which I'll talk about at the end. So the shifter is immaculate. It is beautifully made. All the parts fit together well. The welds are really nice. The fit and finish is incredible. It comes with everything that you need. All the parts, your boots, your lock wire, the sealant plates. It comes with a cool keychain, some propaganda, and one fairly unique thing, it also comes with gummies. Yeah, gummies. I actually haven't tried them, and at the end when I talk about how much money I spent on this shifter, I'll try them and let you know how the gummies are. I really hope these make what I spent on the shifter better. Anyways, so yeah, shifter's very high quality, comes with everything that you need right out of the box. Now, I'm going to be taking some time to go over a few steps on this that I think are poorly outlined in the instructions. Parts of the instructions are very detailed and very easy to understand. Parts of the instructions tell you what to do, but they don't tell you why you do it. And then some of them are just not made clear at all. So to start with the install, you got to get the interior out, specifically everything around the shifter. So, you know, there's lots of videos on this. I'm not going to go step by step, but you can watch me as I just kind of pop everything apart. Everything's very simple. There's really no more than 2 screws that hold anything down. The trickiest part of the interior is really just unplugging the plugs that are underneath the center console and trying your hardest not to drop any screws. That's also something I struggled with anyways. So real quick, when you are removing the upper boot assembly, there is a snap ring that holds in like the reverse overlock or the reverse lockout collar. There's a little snap ring there. If you notice in the video, it's under some serious tension, and yeah, if you're not careful, it can come flying apart. I did find the spring, never found that little black piece. It's still in there somewhere. So then you go on to just kind of remove all the paneling around there. You can see here where I pop out that grounding harness for the e-brake switch. I do that just because it helps kind of lay it farther to the side. You don't have to take both of those off. You can just, you know, you don't even have to take one of them off. It was just easier for me to get it out of the way to take that grounding wire off. Once you get all the paneling away, there are these two little like white cap screws. There's only two of them, one down on the bottom left, one up on the top right. You just unscrew, and once they're out, you just remove the upper boot assembly. Oh yeah, keep a towel handy. That white grease just like gets everywhere. There's a little harness here. You're gonna have to be pulling that plate off, so just remember to pop that harness off. Pretty straightforward. And from there, it's just unbolting everything. There's 4 bolts that hold that panel in, and then the 3 bolts that hold the shifter in. Again, you're gonna get that stupid lubricant just everywhere. And once all that's free, you can pull out the lower boot assembly. And then at this point, this is everything we have to do up on the top or interior of the car right now. And now we're gonna go underneath. Let me introduce you to the boot of doom. Yes, the boot of doom is pretty difficult to get free. Don't use lubricant. If you use spray lubricant like I did, you'll end up having to spray it off, and then there's lube everywhere and everything's slippery and it sucks. So just you get underneath there, keep everything dry, push it out of the way. It doesn't have to be entirely out of the way, but it has to be at least far enough up and out of the way that you can get to the snap ring that's holding the shifter assembly to the actual shift linkage that goes to the transmission. That little black washer, make sure you hang on to that. You're gonna need that for the install procedure when you're putting everything back together. Also, there are 2 little plastic bushings. You can see one of the plastic bushings there. There's 2, just take them out. You won't need them for the install process. Once the linkage is free, just come up top and you just pull the whole linkage assembly or the shifter assembly and the boot of doom out in one piece. Again, you're gonna get lube everywhere. After that, you have to remove the shifter, I guess I call it like the shifter mount. I'm not exactly sure the technical term, but this piece. These bolts are pretty straightforward and easy to get to. They're just bolted to the back of the chassis there. I have seen people get to them from the top. I just loosened the drive shaft, so I had a little extra space, and then it makes getting up there and popping them out easily. Sorry, I didn't actually film myself pulling those bolts out, but next up is the pins. So the pins are what goes in the front here. And this is the hardest part of this install. Well, outside of adjusting it, this is the hardest part of removing everything. Those pins are really, really difficult to slide out. There's not a lot of room. So you push them up and out of the way. And you can see they hit that cover there, that sound deadening material. What I discovered is if you can pop them through the little hole there, and get them all the way out like that. Loosen your transmission mount, and there's a hole in the body. Stick a screwdriver and a pry bar in there, and just pry it over, and it'll be just enough to pop those pins out on both sides. I recommend not doing that for long, because you're letting your transmission hang on the engine mounts. And after that, the shifter mount just falls out. It's actually pretty simple to take out. It was very difficult to film, but once you have the drive shaft out of the way, you can even loosen up the exhaust too if it helps. You just it just rotates out of the car. You don't have to drop the transmission. You don't have to pull the drive shaft out. You don't have to pull your exhaust out. Just kind of loosen everything so you have some play, and it'll wiggle free just fine. So now we're back up top, back in the interior of the car. You're going to be putting down the seal you need to actually seal the elements, the exhaust, the noise, the water. This is what the base plate of the shifter is going to mount to. This is provided in the kit with you. And now we move on to actually prepping the shifter itself. This is a pet peeve of mine. I did not like that they make you do this. I really wish that CAE would do this from the factory, but you have to install safety wire on one of the bolts. There's really no need for you to loosen this bolt or tighten this bolt. It falls out and you lose everything, right? So that's why the safety wire is necessary, is that bolt under no circumstances should come loose while you're using the car. So I do have some experience doing this before, but this is a big fat pain in the butt. It's Really difficult to get your fingers in there. It's even harder to film. The wire's also very brittle. It's just gonna look like I got it on the first try. I got it on my second try. Now, this is an important step because I have seen some of the few people that have put the shifter in a GR86, I've seen people put this boot in wrong. So the boot actually has to be stretched over this plate, right? A lot of people just slide it over the bottom of the shifter and they don't actually seal it to this plate. And let me tell you, this is difficult. I would say this is as bad as getting those pins in and out. Do not use lube. Trust me on that. Don't use lube. This is twice now where I've talked about misusing lube. But here, definitely don't. It will make the process infinitely harder, but you're gonna have to stretch the bottom of that boot over that plate to seal everything, seal all the CO2, right? Like if you daily drive your car and you're sitting in traffic, or even if you're sitting on the racetrack for like a red flag or something like that, you don't want exhaust and heat and rain and all that stuff getting up into the cabin of the car. So make sure you take the time, do this right, get the boot on the plate before you start putting the shifter together. Don't do a good job of filming it, but you can see how the boot actually fits onto the shifter. So after that, you're gonna slide it over the bottom of the shifter, and there's a small channel on the bottom of the shifter. The top of the boot is going to go into that channel. Don't push it up any farther than that. And remember, that channel is not for the wire. Don't let the safety wire be in that channel, or again, you're not going to have a good seal. And in fact, the boot moves around, that wire might chew up that boot after a while. So make sure your safety wire is up closer to the bolt and away from that little cutout where the top of the boot sits. Now it's time to grease up the shift linkage and put the first aluminum washer on the shaft. Use more grease than this. I should have used more grease. When I went back and watched this video, I may actually get underneath there and cover that in some grease. And now you just put the shifter, the shift linkage through the bottom of the shifter. Very straightforward, very easy. Just make sure you install that washer, that aluminum washer on the other side. And that's what it should look like. So you have the boot, you've got the black sheet, and then you've got the shifter itself sitting on top. You've got your boot stretched over it. Everything should sit there just like that. Now, going underneath, this is an important step. So remember I said to save that washer from before. There's the aluminum washer, so you're gonna have two aluminum washers. And so it's gonna go washer, shift linkage, aluminum washer, and then the steel washer that you took off from before. So make sure you grab that, put that over the aluminum washer, and then put your snap ring over top. This is probably one of the most important steps of installing the shifter. Make sure to put everything in loosely at first. So get all your bolts in, everything set. And then you can see here what I'm doing. I'm pushing the shifter all the way forward. So that's an important step. It's outlined in the directions. So if you're following them, you'll be fine. But I didn't do this right the first time. And combined with some other things I'll talk about, I had issues with the shifter popping out of fourth gear. And this was the big reason why. I did not have it pushed all the way forward enough. And the transmission mounts in these cars are an absolute joke. They're the wimpiest transmission mounts I have ever seen. Even for, a low horsepower 4-cylinder car, they're a joke. And so if you have, the shifter adjusted and is too far back, right? So when the car's in fourth gear, the shifter's back and the bottom of the shifter's forward. And when you hit the brakes, right, the body of the car is gonna go forward, and that shifter is bolted to the body of the car. And so the drivetrain's gonna push backwards, the body's gonna go forward, the drivetrain's gonna push backwards, and click. It would push it out of fourth gear every time. So make sure it's adjusted here, and then at the end I'll talk about one more absolutely surefire way to make sure you don't have that problem like I did. Okay, so once you've got everything tightened down and everything adjusted, this is a really important point. The instructions do a poor job of telling you why you do this, but you can see that Allen key put into the front of the shifter. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna loosen that bolt, right? You're gonna loosen that bolt, and then you're gonna put it in third or fourth gear. I recommend using fourth. Fourth gear is the gear that you're gonna use the most if you're on the track. So base all your adjustments off of fourth gear. So loosen it, put it into fourth gear, and then tighten that bolt down as much as you can. Good, keep it good and tight. You don't want this adjustment to move. And what this does is it sets the zero, kind of the center point of the shifter, right? When the shifter's in neutral, you want it to be right in between third and fourth, right? You don't want it to be over in between the gates between 1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't want it to be over between the gates between 5 and 6. You want it to be dead center. So if you push straight forward, you're in third, and straight back, you're in fourth, right? Because the shifter's spring loaded, and the spring wants to keep that shifter in the center of that H pattern, right? And so everyone's car is different. This will come set from the factory, but your car, the bolts in your body could be off-centered. Your transmission mount could be off-centered, right? There could be play in the shifter that's different, right? And they might not adjust them all perfectly from the factory either. So the instructions say to do this, but they don't really tell you why, and it won't make sense unless you really understand it. So just know that when you're going through that step of loosening it, base it off of fourth gear, and that is your center point. So when it's tightened and you take it out of fourth, it sits right in the right spot. Now, the center between third and fourth may not necessarily be straight up and down. In fact, if you look in some of the videos, depending on what camera angle I have in the car, it's actually sitting just a tiny bit to the left. Don't skip this step because, you know, if you're coming from third to fourth and that spring-loaded tension pushes you away from fourth and into second, then the shifter just got a hell of a lot more expensive. So just take your time, do this one right. Now from there, it becomes time to adjust the shifter, right? So you have your center point set. Now you're going to adjust, not really the gates, but you're gonna adjust the endpoints, right? So how far left you go for 1 and 2, and how far right you go for 5 and 6. You just adjusted 3 and 4. Now you're going to adjust the play for the outside. In addition to that, you're also going to adjust reverse. So you can see those pins, those pins with an Allen key head. That's what you're going to adjust to make sure that the shifter goes smoothly into all 6 of the gears in reverse. So the first thing I did was I actually started testing it. I had the car up on quick jacks. I trust those. I started the car, put it in gear, and just made sure the wheels spun in all of them. Now, that doesn't mean it's adjusted, right? Just because it goes into gear doesn't mean it goes into gear in a, you know, that it feels good, right? That you can do it quickly, that you can do it smoothly. You're not putting any, you know, crazy stress on the transmission. But you can see me here adjusting those gates to make sure the shifter can go over far enough to go into first and second and 5 and 6. Now the instructions say 30 thousandths is about what you need. 5 and 6, I got them adjusted right up to 30 thousandths worth of clearance there, clearance between the actual pin itself and the shifter, and that made for an absolutely buttery smooth 5th and 6th gear. That was the amount that just felt absolutely perfect. First and second is always crunchy in these cars for some reason. Every GR86 I've driven always has a crunchy second gear for some reason. And this shifter helps a lot with alleviating that, but I went closer to 40 thousandths for 1 and 2, and that, I mean, it's the smoothest second gear has ever been in my car, hands down. So take some time, play around a little bit. The only gear that I had to really mess with, that I really had to adjust, everything else worked. I adjusted it based off of feel. Reverse. Reverse, I actually had to adjust. I couldn't get far enough over to engage reverse, and I would just end up in first every time. So make these adjustments, take your time, try a few things, try and aim for about 30 thousandths, go a little more, a little less, if it feels better or worse, because everyone's car is going to be different. Everyone's shifter, everyone's transmission is going to be different. So this is where you kind of get to tune things in that are unique to your setup. Now it's time to put everything together. Everything goes back together pretty straightforward, just like it did, except for the upper boot assembly cover. You're going to have to notch that to fit over the transmission shifter itself. It's not that difficult. I feel like that scares a lot of people away, but it's really not that hard. So just watch how I do it here. I disassemble the boot and get down to the panel itself, and then I set everything up. I kind of press it into place, and then I just mark the area that I need to cut out. And then I just took a Dremel and I went really slow. I cut, you know, nice and steady, trying not to melt anything, right? Just trying to cut away as little as I possibly can. And I took my time and it came out really good. That's like the straightest Dremel cut I've ever made. And then you have to cut the boot as well. This is pretty straightforward. You're gonna cut that, that plastic piece that goes around, that holds in the actual boot itself. Just cut that with like a pair of dikes, side cuts, or scissors if your hands are strong enough. And then I just used a razor blade to just make a real gentle cut through the boot. And then I folded it over and just used a dab of hot glue. And it's been perfect. It worked out absolutely great. It was actually one of the easier parts of the install, if you can believe it. And there it is, all put together. That's how it should look. And there it is back together. You can see how it just like sticks up just the littlest bit. I probably could have gone a little bit farther. I could have made it just a touch wider. You can see that it does touch just a little bit, but not that much. Honestly, I think it looks really, really cool. I love the fact that you can see the spring and the cable and you can see it all move. I think that is a really, really cool feature of the shifter. Most people are probably going to think I'm crazy, but I mean, you'll see at the end, this thing looks so damn good in the cockpit of the GR86. It looks so good. Then after that, once you got it clearanced, everything should pop back together. Put your shifter ball on there. I picked white. I wanted something that looked like kind of, you know, I'm a function over form guy. I wanted something that looked kind of like utilitarian, kind of, you know, mechanized, right? Like just this mechanical piece. I didn't want anything fancy or any fancy colors or anything like that. To each his own. Interior bolts back together as easy as it came apart. Final touches. There she is. She's gorgeous. So like I stated earlier in the video, I had trouble with the shifter popping out of gear, specifically fourth gear for some reason. No other gear, just fourth. I did some research and it's actually a common problem. Not on these cars, but on like, these are really popular in GR Corollas and really popular in BMWs. They're great shifters. I read almost every person who had this problem said they upgraded their like driveline mounts, transmission mount, engine mount, diff mounts, and it fixed the problem right away. And that's exactly what I experienced here. Like I said earlier, like this shifter kind of floats, right? The shifter's not really bolted to the body. It's not really bolted to the transmission, right? It kind of pivots here up front and then slides back and forth on the back, right? So as the body and transmission move around, this thing just kind of floats. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on the shifter linkage itself. Now that you're removing, you know, that bushing and those pins, you're removing that piece, the shifter's bolted directly to the body. So because the transmission mount in these cars is just so crappy, you're gonna get a ton of driveline play, right? And so the body is gonna move differently than the transmission is going to, and eventually you're gonna get enough pressure in either way that it's gonna pop out of gear. So what I did is I actually bought the white line bushings. I bought the white line transmission bushing for the transmission mount, and then I bought the Perrin. I think that's just like a transmission, like it holds the transmission in place tighter than the factory mount. So between those two, the actual like bushing itself that you press in there and the actual Perrin piece that bolts it all together, I mean, there's still a little bit of play to keep it safe, right? You don't want it to be, you know, 100% bolted to the transmission mount. You could have the, you know, transmission brake or something like that. But it kept everything in place beautifully. Pro tip, when you're putting this together, torque it off of the car. It's difficult to get to that center bolt once it's on the car. And now moving to the back, These are the differential bushings. These are really simple to put in. Use a jack stand to support the diff. Pop out the top plate. Put the new top bushing in. Press it over the top of that bushing there. That can be a little difficult to do. And then the top metal piece of the bushing after that. Then the bottom bushings, these are pretty straightforward. They just kind of fit in there like a sandwich. You can see how they lock in to the factory bushings. So you're going to leave those. You're going to use both bushings when you put it back together. Press it in place. Make sure you torque everything. You don't want any squeaks or rattles. The instructions will have the torque specs in them. Then you're gonna do the same for the rear differential mounts as well. You're gonna pull the sway bar out of the way, very simple. I don't know why one differential bolt has 2 bolts in it, the other one has 1. Oh, use the lube. It's really difficult to press this bushing into the factory bushing without any lube. So once you have your bushings in, you're pretty much done. Some people will probably be able to get away without having to do the bushings, but I definitely, like, you're gonna need it. For track use, you're definitely gonna need it. But once you have all that done, the shifter's good to go. I've had 0 problems since putting in the bushings, but I also took the time to make sure I got my adjustments right when I put in the shifter itself. So make sure you're taking your time to do that. The bushings, I think, altogether were like an additional $100. I think one kit was $60, the other kit was $40, plus the parent mount. I think it was right around $100 for all of that. So this is probably a good time to segue into the actual cost of the shifter and what it actually costs to get this thing over to you here in the United States, and then of course the cost of the bushings and things like that too. So this is all in euros. I converted it over to US dollars. So the shifter itself was $909. You can't, for some reason, you can't use a credit card on their website, so you have to use PayPal. There's a PayPal fee of 4.7%. That comes up to $48. And then the it's got to be special shipping. It is DHL Express World Shipping, $117. Yeah, so we're well over $1,000 at this point. And then what I didn't see coming, so that all came to $1,074.76. And then there is a $175 import duty fee that you have to pay, and make sure you're paying attention to your email because you have like 3 days to pay it or they ship it back. Yeah, so be paying attention. Once you get that paid for right away, $175. And then they'll drop off your shifter after taking it hostage. I don't think it takes super long. I think I remember it taking less than 2 weeks for the shifter to get here. It might have been like right just at a week. And then like I was like, what the hell? I got to pay this $175. And so it was like another 2 to 3 days after that. So yeah, you're looking at a grand total of $1,249.76. That's not counting the bushings. That's not counting the $100 I had on bushings. So I would call it, basically, I call it $1,350 to do that shifter. So to be honest with you, I think it's absolutely worth it. Some pros and cons. Do I recommend this shifter? Whether or not I recommend it, I'll get to you in a second. But let's talk about the pros and cons, right? Pros, this thing is awesome. It is like this mechanical, like, people say bolt action. I think that's, like, it reminds me of just, like, pulling a lever on, like, a trap door, right? You ever see, like, Wild Wild West when he's, like, driving that big spider thing? He's, like, pulling those levers. Like, that's what it reminds me of. Like, it's this very, you know, click, precise, just bam, you're in gear, right? And it's taller than like a normal short throw shifter. A lot of short throws are just literally shorter. This one's much longer, and it's still just about as short as like the I forget the like the strike fast shifter is one that comes to mind. I have had experience with that. And then there's another really famous short shifter that's out there. It's as short as that, and it's much taller and much closer to the steering wheel. So your hand is over on the shifter faster than coming down to hit that shifter normally. So this thing is awesome. It feels great. It looks great. It definitely makes shifting faster and more fun. In addition to that, like, the quality is really good. I've had zero problems with, like, everything fit together perfectly. The you know, shifter ball doesn't come loose or anything like that. Everything works great. It is a high quality product. Some cons, it's definitely going to increase the amount of NVH in the car. If you daily drive your car or have a very picky girlfriend or sensitive ears or something like that, it does increase the amount of NVH. Me personally, I love that. It's very race car, right? You're going to hear the shafts in your transmission spinning. You're going to hear the bearings. You're going to hear the force coming through the transmission. I think that's really cool. It gives me race car vibes. I love it. Now, if that bothers you, I have seen people take that lower boot assembly, that foam, and I've seen them cut that apart and make it fit around the shifter underneath the boot. You can't tell it's there, and they say it does a pretty decent job of deadening the sound. So that's one solution if that bothers you. The second con is the cost. Yeah, I mean, it is an expensive part. I think the other short shifters out on the market are somewhere around $200 to $300. I think the Strike Fast shifter is $450. And I believe that ships from America. So you don't have to deal with the import duty like I have. Now, I've sat in a car and just like messed around with the Strike Fast shifter. I haven't had a chance to actually drive it. But I mean, I've heard good things. So if you want to compromise and you want something, you know, like this, but without spending all the money, that might be an option to look into. So I guess it comes down to, like, do I recommend it? Well, that's going to be based off of how good these gummies are. Just kidding. I absolutely recommend it. If you have the money to spend on this shifter, it looks really cool. It's a very unique upgrade. It will enhance your driving experience. It will, you know, you're going to feel more of the car. You're going to hear more of the car. If you can handle the install process and you can handle the cost, I definitely recommend it. Let's try these out. Oh, these gummies, they're in the shape of a car. Yeah, they're little cars. No. I mean, these are cool, but yeah, I think CAE should stick to shifters and not gummies. This reminds me of chewing old gum. What the yeah, these are just bad. I mean, these are from Germany, so they're probably made with, like, actual food and not all the crazy nasty preservatives that American gummies have. Yeah, like, the nutrition facts are all in German. Yeah, these are terrible. These are terrible gummies. The shifter is great. The gummies are terrible. Anyways, I hope this video helps you if you're interested in this. There's not a ton of information out on the internet about how these actually work and get installed into the cars. There's even less, like, videos and how-tos on this shifter for the GR86. And if you're having any issues with it, I hope this you know, helped you troubleshoot things as well. So thanks for watching. Yeah, I've gone to the track once with this shifter, and I've just fallen in love with it, and I can't wait to go back again. So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.